It's so easy to go wrong with alternate history. Most writers have to capture the essence of an era and subtly tweak elements to make it their own, while still maintaining the believability of the setting. Typically, the creator asks a hypothetical question that changes something, that spirals out, creating the setting. Being able to ask the right question is the challenge. A poorly thought out or uninteresting question will piss off history buffs. But every blue moon, a creative comes along with something fire, and they ask the right, simple question. Something like, what if World War I, but with mechs? The world of IronHarvest is adapted from the lore of the board game Scythe, published by Stonemaier Games, based on the artwork of Jakub Wazowski. Scythe is a military board game with a focus on warfare and troop management. The world created by Jakub is a hyper-stylized version of reality that takes the grittiness of the Diesel era up to 11 by adding massive mobilized battlesuits and combat platforms. These machines dominate the battlefield in pre-Great War Europe. This is the setting of the strategy game IronHarvest. IronHarvest was released in September of 2020, developed by King Art Games and published by Deep Silver. It is split into 3 core campaigns and 2 DLC campaigns. The first of these is the Polanian campaign, focusing on Anna Kos. Anna is a girl from the small village of Zelis, where she lives with her brother, Janik, and their father. Rusviets attack her village, looking for her father. The vast majority of the campaign is spent unraveling why the Rusviets want her father. You eventually discover in spectacular fashion that Anna's father is a scientist who aided in inventing weapons of war for the shadowy organization known as Fenris, an Illuminati-esque organization that's been pulling the strings behind the scenes in the world of 1920+. You track down and corner the man responsible for attacking your home.
Where is my father?
Hey, honey!
You bastard!
She decides to join her uncle in his resistance against the Rusviet occupation. Eventually, she catches up with Zubov, but he manages to escape, not before the surprise interference of Anna's brother, Janik Kos, who up until this point had been presumed to have died at the end of the war. He is the latest Fenris experiment, turning him into a walking weapon of war. Janik tells us his backstory, which is the basis for the Rusviet campaign. He, along with Olga Morozova, the head of security for the Tsar, works to uncover Fenris' involvement in an attempt on the Tsar's life during the peace talks. The would-be assassins planted a bomb in the palace. Janik is horribly injured in the blast, but Olga pulls a Dick Whitman, swapping his tags with the Rusviet guard to get him the life-saving surgery that turns him into the weapon he is now. The Rusviet campaign is split between their 2 POVs. Olga and her investigations into Fenris and their machinations against the Tsar, and Janik, working as a double agent for Olga to find out what Zubov and his Fenris masters are up to in Saxonia. Zubov is trying to break into Tesla City. Nikola Tesla, who is far more successful in this universe, has a city dedicated to his scientific pursuits, defended by his state-of-the-art Tesla bots, with the hope that they can protect his inventions from the likes of Fenris. Zubov intends to shatter this hope. He has laid siege to the city and fought his way to the doors of Tesla's factory. Tesla recognizes the tech used to make Janik and tells him that he can return him to normal. Janik sees this as an opportunity to turn on Zubov, but Zubov has a kill switch ready in case of such a situation. Until suddenly, Gunter von Duesenberg, general of the Saxonian military, arrives surrounding Zubov. The game then cuts to a flashback. It is the eve of the Great War. General Duesenberg and Prince Wilhelm of Saxony are beginning the opening assault of Polania, expecting a quick and glorious victory, blissfully unaware of the quagmire they are getting themselves into. The prince grows more and more frustrated at the loss of Saxonian lives as the war drags on. He is a man who values the lives of his countrymen above all. Irritated by the lack of progress, this frustration causes him to act recklessly, and he commits atrocities on the battlefield. He finally crosses the line by killing surrendering soldiers. This causes a scandal that forces the Kaiser to pin the blame on General Duesenberg to save face for his son. The general is living in disgrace as recalled to the palace. The Kaiser needs a man he can trust. Fenris is making bigger moves in the capital and causing unrest. The general is justifiably disillusioned with the Kaiser after being forced to be the fall guy for the Kaiser's son's bullshit. Despite this, he is willing to help however he can, due to his loyalty to the Kaiser and their former friendship. Unfortunately, the prince has his own plans, and shoots the Kaiser in the back, killing him and pinning it on the general, who is then forced to flee. He eventually runs into Olga and Anna Cole's forces that are marching on Zubov's position at the Tesla factory. With little choice but to join them and take down Zubov and his Fenris cronies, he fights his way through the city, which brings us back to where we left things off, where you take down Zubov, only for Tesla to reveal that he has released his ultimate weapon, Icarus. Icarus proceeds to go on a rampage in an attempt to wipe everyone out. Now it's a DPS race to defeat Icarus. It is a micro-heavy fight, but if you manage your forces well and your hero abilities, Icarus goes down like a candle waxed to flame. And that is the ending of the main campaign. Most of our heroes have been brought together for the final battle, and the true enemy has been revealed. I really enjoyed how each campaign has the protagonist dealing with different aspects of the Great War's fallout and how it affected them in their country. Anna's story is about how Polania has been unfairly treated after the war, and the unwarranted aggression of the Rusviet forces has turned the border regions into a powder keg. The Rusviet campaign covers the personal cost of the Fenris experiments through the lens of Janek, a man who has had his humanity stripped away and turned into a living weapon. You get to see how Fenris has infiltrated the upper echelons of the Rusviet court and is operating independently of the Tsar's wishes. Zubov, the main villain of the Polanian campaign, is operating in Fenris' interests, creating tensions between the two nations. And lastly, the Saxonian campaign is about how the horrors of war can corrupt the most noble of intentions into something despicable. There are two DLCs for the game, the Usonian and the Rusviet Revolution campaigns. The Usonian campaign follows one Captain James Mason, who is sent on a series of missions of dubious intent by his father, Admiral George Mason. Usonia is the 1920-plus version of America, and the first half takes place in a covert mission to protect Usonian interests in Rusviet-held Alaska. Alaskan oil rigs are being raided by Rusviet rebels, and Usonian corporate interests want things to be handled to get the shipments of oil going. However, things go tits up as it becomes apparent this is just a play for Usonia to have a more direct influence in the region, and using the revolution as an excuse for her intervention. This becomes clear when a Rusviet counterattack happens and the Admiral's Armada is forced to intervene to prevent a diplomatic incident. The big draw for the DLC are the added airships for the Usonian faction, with super carriers, mobile offensive platforms, and sky bikes. They are slightly more mobile mechs that allow for more flanking options, able to go up and over most terrain in the few missions they are available. After the kerfuffle in Alaska, Mason's father has one more opportunity for him to make a name for himself, protecting Usonian interests. Arabia is in the middle of a civil war after an attempt to break away from Saxonia. Mason's job is to go in and try to negotiate one of the native factions to request Usonian intervention. He finds his opportunity in the Princess Scythe, who is leading a resistance faction against the current Shah, who murdered her brothers and father in a coup. The campaign felt like a self-aware Lawrence of Arabia. Knowing full well that the situation is just a massive PR stunt for Usonia, the princess's nobility and passion, and maybe Mason and his passions, cause him to believe in the cause wholeheartedly. He throws his lot in with the princess in direct opposition to his father's orders to pick a side that would accept an Usonian intervention and potential occupation. When he refuses to side with the princess's traitorous brother at the orders of his father out of principle, his father pulls all support. Mason is now alone in a foreign country and facing the full might of Saxonia. Scythe is arrested. Mason takes the risk to rescue the princess and push back the Saxonians. Mason manages to save the princess, liberate her capital, and clear his name in the press. The campaign ends with things left ambiguous for Mason, implying that he will either be a hero, setting the stage for him to become president, and hopefully exact change and operate against Fenris, or be tried and executed by a military tribunal. It is by far the best campaign of the game. No mission lasts too long, and the team cuts back on flooding with survival horde missions, which they seem to be quite fond of. The true change of pace comes in the Rusviet Revolution. The Rusviet Revolution is an extended escort mission. The Tsar's hideout is compromised, and all signs point to someone in the Tsar's inner circle being responsible. After battling your way to the safe house, defeating anarchists, revolutionaries, and rogue Rusviet troops, you rendezvous with the Tsar, getting him out of the hidey hole safely. The Tsar has a plan, and is determined to end the fighting for good. He intends to fight his way to a broadcast tower in a nearby city in an attempt to call for a ceasefire, and he will offer to step down if it will end the hostilities. While escorting him, he witnesses firsthand what the war has done to his people. Loyalists and revolutionaries roam the land, and the people suffer at the hands of both factions. You interact with multiple Rusviet peasant families along the way who are being oppressed by both. The fight to the tower is a hard one, with your forces facing multiple enemies, but once you make it to the tower, it becomes a battle for survival while the Tsar prepares his message.
The broadcast! It's starting!
My fellow Rusviets, this is Grigory Rasputin speaking.
What the...
Oh no.
My men and I have worked hard within the government for this day. Tsar Nicholas is dead. I executed him moments ago after he fell into our trap.
No! Государь!
Colonel Zubov, leader of the Loyalist forces, has agreed to a surrender. I urge all enemies of the revolution to do the same.
He's lying! We have to get the Tsar out of there!
It's too late. We've lost.
The time for division is over. Together, we will build a new Rusviet. A Rusviet that will take its right...
Oh shit. The Tsar has been murdered, and enemy reinforcements have arrived, with Olga and her forces being framed for the murder. Fenris seemingly having won in Europa, our heroes are then scattered and on the run. Mason, the only one in any position to seize power and affect things outside of Fenris' influence. The story ends with one hell of a downer, with our heroes on the back foot and Fenris' machinations coming to fruition on all fronts. All things considered, that doesn't take away from how fun the game is to play. Working your way up from simple farm boys with rifles to massive mechs feels satisfying. IronHarvest has an enjoyable gameplay loop, where most missions can be beaten by turtling up and flanking the enemy formations, holding the line until you have enough resources to start pumping out mechs. I wasn't the biggest fan of how low resource generation is in comparison to unit production costs. Despite this, once I figured out what the recoup cost from harvesting enemy mechs balanced out the low harvest rate, it changed the game for me. If you hunker down, take out enemy mechs, and harvest them for resources, you can then launch assaults on their oil and mine fields. Rinse and repeat until you can push for the main objective or base. IronHarvest isn't what a purist will refer to as a true RTS, however, it scratches that itch well enough, with a solid gameplay loop, intriguing premise, and most importantly, it has giant freaking diesel mech. They feel so gritty and grimy, and you can more than buy into this alternate timeline and have some good old-fashioned mecha-based fun.